In the beginning, long before the rise of Olympus, before the thunder rolled across the heavens, and before any mortal spoke the name Zeus, there existed only a silent, endless void. A vast emptiness without shape, without light, without life. This was chaos. From this formless darkness, the universe would slowly awaken. A universe that would shape gods, monsters, heroes, mortals, destiny itself, and at its center would one day stand the greatest of all gods, Zeus, the King of Kings. But to understand Zeus, to understand his power, his judgment, his flaws, his glory, we must travel to the very beginning. To the moment the cosmos first breathed. Out of chaos, three primordial beings emerged. They were not gods as we imagine them today, but immense, cosmic forces. First was Gaia, the earth itself, the foundation of solid land, the mother of all life. Second was Tartarus, the deep abyss, the shadowy pit that lay beneath all creation. Third was Eros, the force of attraction, the gentle pull that would draw beings together, enabling creation, birth, and change. These were not gentle beings. They were the laws of existence given shape. Gaia grew silently in the center of chaos, forming mountains, fertile plains, and wide valleys. She stretched across the emptiness, strong, nourishing, eternal. And from Gaia's very being, others began to form. Gaia brought forth Uranus, the sky, a vast dome of shimmering stars, brilliant and young. He stretched above her, covering her completely. When the sky met the earth, creation deepened. Light and shadow separated. Time began to move. Gaia and Uranus became the first divine pair, and their union produced powerful children, beings who would shape the world. Their first children were the Titans. There were 12 in total. Oceanus, lord of the world-encircling river. Tethys, mother of all fresh waters. Hyperion, titan of the sun's light. Thea, who gave shine to precious metals and sight to beings. Ceus, titan of intellect. Phoebe, linked with prophecy and the moon. Crius, the pillar of the sky's constellations. Mnemosyne, memory itself. Iapetus, ancestor of mankind. Themis, embodiment of divine justice. Rhea, destined to be mother of gods. Cronus, the youngest and the most cunning. But Gaia and Uranus brought forth other children too, beings far more unusual. Gaia gave birth to 3 colossal beings called the Centimanes. Monsters with 100 arms and 50 heads each. They were named Briareus, Cottus, and Guys. Their strength was beyond imagination. Mountains trembled when they walked. Rivers changed course at their command. Yet despite their power, they were not wicked. They were simply born into a world not yet ready for them. But Uranus, ruler of the sky, feared their might. Their appearance horrified him, and their strength threatened his rule. He imprisoned them deep within Gaia, burying them in the darkness of the earth's deepest places. Their cries echoed through the stone chambers beneath the world. And Gaia felt every tear. Next, Gaia bore 3 Cyclopes, one-eyed giants of immense craftsmanship. Argesh, the blazing one. Brontes, the thunderer. Sterapes, the lightning maker. These beings possessed the raw power of storms and the talent to shape weapons fit for gods. But Uranus feared them as well. Once again, he locked them away in the depths, hidden from the world. Gaia's heart ached with betrayal. These were her children, powerful, strange, beautiful in their own way, yet Uranus rejected them all. And inside Gaia, anger grew. A slow-burning rage that would soon erupt. Gaia spoke to her Titan children, her voice echoing like the shifting of continents. She said, "Your father has wronged me. He has trapped your brothers in darkness and brings me only sorrow. Who among you will stand beside me? Who will overthrow Uranus, the tyrant of the sky? The Titans trembled. Uranus was strong, eternal, impossible to defeat. But one stepped forward. The youngest Titan. The sharpest-minded. The one whose heart was filled with ambition. Cronus. He said, "Mother, I will do it. I will free your buried sons. I will rise against the sky itself." Gaia smiled with grief and hope interwoven. She shaped from stone a mighty sickle of unbreakable adamant. The blade gleamed with cold destiny. Cronus took it without fear. Thus began the first rebellion in the cosmos. Night fell. Uranus descended upon Gaia, stretching across her as the sky always did. Cronus hid in the shadows, his hand gripping the adamant blade. As Uranus lowered himself, Cronus struck. With one swift, merciless swing, he wounded the sky god so deeply that the heavens screamed. The stars trembled violently. The universe shook as if it would collapse. Uranus retreated upward, broken, defeated. The blood that fell from him gave birth to new beings. The Erinyes, spirits of vengeance. The giants, colossal forces of chaos. And the Meliae, nymphs of the ash trees. As Uranus fled into the upper reaches of the sky, he spoke a prophecy, a curse that would haunt Cronus forever. "You too, my son, will be overthrown by your own child." Then he vanished. Cronus had won. The age of the Titans had begun. Cronus freed the Cyclopes and the Centimanes from Gaia's depths. But only for a moment. He feared their power just as Uranus had. And so, in a cruel echo of his father's actions, Cronus chained them once again in the shadows of the earth. The Titans now ruled the world, and Cronus took his sister Rhea as his queen. Under their reign, time flowed steadily, seasons formed, and life blossomed on earth. It was an era of golden peace, at least on the surface. But deep within Cronus's heart, fear grew. He could not forget the prophecy. A child of his would rise against him. And so the cycle of betrayal continued. Each time Rhea bore a child, Cronus swallowed it whole. Hestia. Demeter. Hera. Hades. Poseidon. One by one, the children who might overthrow him were trapped inside his stomach, alive but imprisoned in darkness. Rhea wept for them. Her heart shattered with each birth lost. She loved Cronus once, but now saw only the shadow of a frightened tyrant. Gaia watched. The pattern repeated. The mistakes of Uranus now lived in Cronus. But the time for change was coming. A child was soon to be born. One who would not be swallowed. One who would not be hidden. One who would rise. A child named Zeus. And with him, the world as the Titans knew it would end. Rhea walked alone across the slopes of Mount Lycaon, far from Cronus's watchful eyes. Her body trembled, not with fear this time, but with determination. She was pregnant again. Another child. Another innocent life destined to be swallowed whole by Cronus, the father who feared his own blood. Rhea could not bear to lose another child to the endless darkness of his hunger. She lifted her hands to the sky and whispered, "Mother Gaia, I need you." The earth rumbled beneath her feet. Trees swayed although there was no wind. The stones around her warmed with the presence of the ancient, cosmic mother. Gaia emerged not in a physical shape, but as a presence, a warm vibration, an ancient heartbeat pulsing through the land. "My daughter," Gaia whispered. "You suffer as I once suffered. But the cycle can be broken." Rhea's tears fell freely. She clutched her swollen belly, knowing this child carried destiny in his very blood. "What must I do?" she asked. And Gaia showed her a path. A secret path that led far from Cronus's gaze. Under darkness, Rhea slipped away from Mount Othrys, the fortified home of the Titans. She disguised herself in the cloak of night, walking through forests, across valleys, and over mountains. Every step carried her farther from danger, from heartbreak, from the tyrant who called himself her king. Her journey ended on the island of Crete, a land of deep caves, wild goats, sacred mountains, and ancient magic. There, within the echoing chambers of Mount Ida, Gaia guided her. "This is where your child must be born," the earth whispered. And so, in the stillness of night, surrounded only by stone and starlight, Rhea gave birth to her sixth child. A boy. A child with eyes bright like lightning. A cry that echoed like thunder. A presence that felt ancient, powerful, undeniable. She held him close and whispered, "You will be Zeus. And one day, you will do what your father could not, you will end the tyranny." Rhea knew she could not keep the child with her for long. Cronus would soon sense something was amiss. She crafted a plan, clever, desperate, and guided by Gaia's wisdom. From a nearby riverbank, Rhea took a smooth stone. She wrapped it tightly in swaddling cloths, leaving only the shape of a child. With trembling hands, she carried the stone back to Cronus's throne on Mount Othrys. Cronus sat there, tall and stern, his eyes cold with suspicion. "You have given birth?" he demanded. Rhea forced herself to nod. Cronus reached out with greedy hands, seized the bundle, and, without hesitation, swallowed it whole. The stone slid into his stomach with a heavy thud, settling among the trapped, living children inside him. But Cronus felt nothing unusual. He believed he had devoured his final threat. And Rhea turned away, hiding her trembling relief. While Cronus rested, smug and unsuspecting, Rhea hurried back to Crete. Inside the secret cave of Mount Ida, sacred guardians awaited her. First came the Cuorites, armored warrior spirits with shields and spears. They vowed to guard the infant Zeus by beating their shields together whenever he cried, drowning his voice in metallic thunder. Their dance was fierce, rhythmic, powerful. A sacred ritual that echoed through the cave like storms. Then came Adrastea and Ida, gentle nymphs chosen to care for the child. They placed Zeus in a cradle woven with vines and gold threads. They fed him with nectar, the drink of the gods; ambrosia, the food of immortality; and fresh milk from Amalthea, the divine she-goat whose horns dripped with abundance. Amalthea nuzzled the infant with affection, her warm breath comforting him as he slept. Every day he grew stronger. His cry vibrated the air like thunder. His laughter sparked tiny flashes of lightning in the cave's shadows. The nymphs watched him with awe. "This child," Adrastea whispered, "is destined for greatness." But far away, on Mount Othrys, Cronus's victory began to crumble. Strange dreams plagued him. Visions of storms swirling above his head. Visions of a young, powerful god wielding thunder. Visions of a future where the Titan king no longer ruled. And then the prophecy returned to him. The ancient words Uranus had spoken. "You too, Cronus, will be overthrown by your own child." Cronus began to grow paranoid. He did not trust Rhea. He did not trust the Titans. He trusted no one. He summoned spies. He searched the lands. He demanded that every creature swear loyalty to him. But the truth of Zeus's survival remained hidden. Hidden in a cave where thunder was learning to be born. Time flowed like a river carved through mountains. Zeus grew from a baby to a spirited child, curious and fearless. He climbed the steep rocks outside the cave. He chased the sacred goats of Crete. He played with golden balls gifted by Gaia herself, balls that sparked lightning when thrown. The Cuorides trained him in discipline, rhythm, and courage. The nymphs taught him compassion, balance, and knowledge. Amalthea taught him strength, and sacrifice. For one day, while leaping playfully near the cave, she fell and was mortally wounded. Zeus wept, his cries shaking the stones of Mount Ida. But the gods do not let noble sacrifices fade. From Amalthea's horn, Zeus created the cornucopia, the horn of plenty. A symbol of endless nourishment and divine generosity. He kept the horn with him always, honoring the creature who raised him. As Zeus grew into adolescence, he began to understand his purpose. He listened to the whispers of Gaia. He listened to the guidance of the nymphs. He listened to the thunder inside himself, a thunder that demanded justice. One night, Zeus climbed to the peak of Mount Ida and looked toward the distant silhouette of Mount Othrys. He felt the tension of fate in his chest. "I will confront him," Zeus vowed. "I will free my siblings. I will break the chains of fear. I will end the age of Cronus." Lightning answered him from the sky. The first sign of his destiny. As Zeus reached adulthood, tall, strong, and radiant with divine energy, a new figure approached him. She emerged from the misty forests of Crete, graceful and wise, with eyes that shimmered like moonlit water. She was Métis, goddess of deep thought, cunning wisdom, and strategic insight. A daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, Métis understood prophecy and fate. She bowed to Zeus. "Greatness awaits you," she said. "But to overthrow Cronus, you will need more than strength. You will need strategy, and a heart brave enough to challenge time itself." Zeus listened, captivated. And Métis revealed a secret. There exists a potion, brewed from the roots of the oldest trees, mixed with the tears of nymphs and the breath of mountains. If Cronus drinks it, he will release what he has swallowed. Zeus's eyes burned with resolve. "Then it is time," he said. "Time to free the gods." Deep within the forests of Crete, beneath the ancient trees whose roots touched memories older than Titans, Métis began preparing the most powerful potion the world had ever known. She guided Zeus to a shadowed grove where silver mist clung to the ground. "This place," Métis whispered, "is older than Cronus. Older than the Titans. Older than fear itself. What we create here will change the age of the world." She instructed Zeus to gather the roots of the first ash tree, nourished by the life force of Gaia. The petals of the night-blooming moonflower, which only opened under starlight. Drops of water from the Cretan springs, sacred and life-giving. Métis herself plucked tears of light from the eyes of an immortal nymph, tears shed for the suffering of Zeus's siblings. Then she held her hands to the ground, calling upon the ancient breath of mountains, a force so old it hummed through the soil like a heartbeat. The ingredients swirled together, glowing softly as they fused into a shimmering, silver-gold liquid. "This," Métis said, lifting the cup toward Zeus, "is the potion that will force Cronus to cough up everything he has swallowed." Zeus looked at the cup and felt destiny stir in his veins. The moment was approaching. Zeus had not walked the lands of mainland Greece since infancy. But now, grown and powerful, he descended from Mount Ida with silent determination. The forests parted for him. Animals bowed their heads. Storm clouds gathered as if greeting an old friend. He crossed the sea to the island's shores and stepped onto the lands ruled by Cronus. Before him rose Mount Othrys, the dark and looming fortress of the Titans. High on its slopes, Cronus's throne room glowed with the dull light of a realm locked in fear. Zeus approached not as a frightened child, but as a rising god. He reached the gates of the Titan court disguised as a simple cupbearer, a servant bearing nectar and ambrosia. Metis's magic cloaked him. His godly aura was hidden. His thunderous presence dimmed. Cronus would not sense his approach until it was too late. Inside the grand hall carved into Mount Othrys, Cronus sat upon a throne of black stone. His crown was heavy with age. His eyes, once prideful, were now filled with paranoia and darkness. Titans gathered around him, looming, powerful beings, unaware that change had entered the room disguised as a servant. Cronus leaned forward. "You," he commanded Zeus, not knowing who he truly was, "pour me a drink." Zeus bowed humbly, hiding a smile. He approached Cronus and raised a golden cup, not filled with nectar, but with Metis's enchanted potion. Cronus snatched the cup with greedy hands, lifting it to his lips. The liquid shimmered like starlight as he drank it. And for the briefest moment, the hall grew silent. Then Cronus's face twisted. A violent tremor shook his body. His hands clutched at his chest. His eyes widened with terror. "What have you done?" But the magic had already taken hold. Cronus fell to his knees. A roar echoed through the hall, a roar that sounded like time breaking. He convulsed, choking and gagging, as golden light burst from his mouth. And then it began. One by one, Cronus vomited out the children he had swallowed. Hestia, goddess of the hearth, emerged first. Dazed but burning with warmth. Demeter, goddess of grain and life, followed. Radiant, her hair flowing like wheat fields. Hera, goddess of marriage and sovereignty, rose next. Eyes fierce with unbroken pride. Hades, god of the underworld, emerged cold, silent, powerful. Poseidon, god of the sea, stood tall, strength like crashing waves. And though each had been swallowed long ago, they emerged fully grown, preserved by divine immortality. Cronus collapsed, gasping, eyes wide with dread. The siblings looked around, confused, weak, disoriented. Except for one. Hera stepped forward first. She saw Zeus standing there. "Who are you?" Hera asked. Zeus let the disguise melt away. His true form revealed itself, tall, radiant, thunder coursing through his veins. "I am your brother," he said softly. "I am Zeus. And together, we will reclaim our destiny." The hall trembled with the power awakened. The Titans stared at Zeus, shocked. They saw a young god filled with unimaginable strength, strength they had never witnessed from any Titan. Cronus struggled to stand, his voice a whisper of panic. You are the one." He looked at Zeus with hatred and fear, realizing the prophecy had begun. "You will not overthrow me." Zeus stepped forward, lightning dancing across his skin. "It is already happening," he said. "You swallowed your own children out of fear. You chained the Cyclopes. You buried the Centimanes. You rule with cruelty." Zeus's words echoed through the chamber. The age of the Titans ends today. Zeus gathered his freed siblings outside Mount Othrys. They were disoriented but alive, each carrying the essence of a god. Hestia, with the calm flame of home. Demeter, with the pulse of life and harvest. Hera, with the fire of sovereignty. Hades, with the chill of the deep earth. Poseidon, with the power of the sea. Zeus raised his hand, summoning a spark of lightning. "For too long," he said, "Cronus has ruled through fear." The mountains darkened. Storm clouds gathered. Winds roared. But together, we can build something greater, a new order for gods and mortals. Poseidon stepped forward first. "I am with you, brother." Hades nodded. "I owe Cronus nothing." Hera lifted her chin. Then let us end this age. The siblings spoke as one voice. Together. And thus, the army of the Olympian gods was born. Zeus knew that defeating the Titans would require more than courage. They needed allies. They needed the ancient power Cronus had buried. Thus, Zeus descended into the deepest caverns beneath the earth, into Tartarus' dark borders, where the Cyclopes and the Centaurs had been imprisoned. The air was thick, heavy, suffocating. Chains bound the ancient beings. Their roars were faint echoes lost in the dark. Zeus approached the Cyclopes first. "I am Zeus," he declared. "I come to free you." Brontes, the thunderer, opened his single eye. "Long have we waited for the one strong enough to face the Titans." Zeus shattered their chains with a single bolt of lightning. The Cyclopes rose, towering, powerful, grateful. They bowed. "In gratitude, we shall forge weapons worthy of gods." Then Zeus freed the 100-handed ones, Briareus, Cottus, and Gaius. As their chains fell, the earth shook. "We are yours to command," they thundered. Zeus smiled. "Then stand with us. The war begins." True to their word, the Cyclopes forged 3 great weapons. For Zeus, the thunderbolt, a weapon of pure lightning, capable of splitting mountains and reshaping the sky. For Poseidon, the trident, a pronged spear that commanded storms and shook the oceans. For Hades, the helm of invisibility, a shadowed crown that could conceal him from any being. With these gifts, the Olympians were no longer young gods. They were a force meant to change the cosmos. The world had known peace for ages under the Titans' rule, but now, the winds themselves whispered of war. Mountains groaned. Trees shivered. Oceans churned with restless fury. The sky darkened as Zeus and his siblings assembled atop Mount Olympus, a towering peak close to the heavens. Zeus raised the thunderbolt, glowing with blinding white fire. "Today," he proclaimed, "we end the age of tyranny. Today, the old world falls, and the new world rises." His siblings stood beside him. Poseidon, gripping the trident with seas roaring behind him. Hades, his shadow swirling under the helm of darkness. Hera, regal and determined. Demeter, with fields blooming at her feet. Hestia, gentle flame burning like hope. Beside them, the Cyclopes and Centaurs towered like living mountains. And thus began the greatest war in ancient history. The Titanomachy. A battle that shook the foundations of the universe. Cronus, still trembling from the release of his children, retreated to Mount Othrys, the stronghold of the Titans. There he called forth his loyal brothers and sisters. The Titans, ancient, massive beings born from Gaia and Uranus, answered his summons. Oceanus, with tides swirling around him. Iapetus, fierce and battle-hardened. Crius, towering with constellations burning on his skin. Hyperion, radiating the harsh light of the early sun. Ceus, with eyes like twin stars. Phoebe, shimmering with lunar energy. Thea, mother of radiant brilliance. And many others, each powerful, ancient, unstoppable. Cronus stood before them, still majestic despite his fear. "Children dare rise against us," he boomed. "Shall we let infants rule the cosmos?" The Titans roared in anger. "We will destroy them," Hyperion vowed. "We will end them," Crius echoed. "We will crush their rebellion," Oceanus declared. Cronus lifted his scythe, the very blade that once struck down Uranus. The war begins now. The two forces met between Mount Othrys and Mount Olympus, in a vast plain known as the Field of Phlegra. For 10 entire years, storms swirled, flames erupted from the earth, and the sky trembled with every blow. In the first great clash, Zeus hurled the thunderbolt. It streaked across the sky like a comet, exploding against the Titans' shield wall, scattering them with deafening force. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident. The earth tore open, swallowing dozens of Titan soldiers before sealing shut again. Hades vanished into the shadows, emerging behind enemy lines to spread fear and confusion. But the Titans were ancient and powerful. Hyperion countered with blinding solar fire. Cronus unleashed cosmic storms. Iapetus struck with brute force, splitting boulders with his fists. Oceanus summoned massive tidal waves that crashed across the battlefield. For every god who struck, a Titan struck back. The war was balanced. The world teetered on the edge. Zeus realized the Titan's strength came not only from power but age. They were old as time, forces that shaped the world long before gods existed. So he turned to his brothers. Poseidon rose high above the battlefield on a wave taller than mountains. With a roar, he called forth storms, hurricanes, and whirlpools. Oceanus attempted to counter him, but Poseidon's command over the sea surpassed even the Titan's ancient authority. The oceans themselves favored the younger god. Hades disappeared beneath the battlefield. From the deep earth, he sent upward waves of fear. Illusions, shadows, visions of death that weakened the Titan's morale. His helm of darkness made him an invisible, unstoppable force. The Titan struck at shadows while he struck with precision. Seeing the battle slip from his control, Cronus strode forward. With a voice like a collapsing mountain, he roared. "I will not be overthrown by children." He swung his adamantine scythe, slicing the air itself. Winds split. Clouds tore apart. Mountains cracked. Zeus confronted him. The sky fell silent. Father and son stood face to face. One representing the past. The other the future. Cronus attacked first. Zeus dodged lightning fast, answering with a thunderbolt that exploded against Cronus's chest. But Cronus was powerful. He endured. He pressed forward. The fighting between the two shook the heavens. As the war raged, Zeus realized they needed overwhelming force. He called out, "Briareus! Cottus! Guys! It is time!" The 300-handed ones stepped onto the battlefield, each towering like mountains. Their 100 arms hurled boulders the size of islands. Their 50 heads roared in unison. The ground quaked beneath their feet. Each strike shattered Titan ranks. Each roar sent tremors through the earth. Hyperion faltered under their power. Cronus retreated. Even mighty Oceanus withdrew to the depths of the sea. The tide of war turned. Meanwhile, the Cyclopes forged more weapons in the heat of battle. Flaming javelins for the gods. Shields with runic inscriptions. Lightning-charged stones. Arges shouted to Zeus. "Use your thunderbolt. Use your birthright." And Zeus, fueled by their gifts, unleashed lightning storms that split the sky. The Titans faltered. Their ranks thinned. The battlefield trembled with divine fire. On the 10th year, during a storm of earth and lightning, Zeus struck Cronus with a thunderbolt so powerful it shattered the Titan king's scythe. Cronus fell back, stunned. Poseidon slammed his trident into the ground, causing the earth beneath the Titans to crack open. Hades emerged from the depths, dragging shadows with him, binding Titans in fear. And then, Briareus and his brothers seized Cronus with 50 arms each. The Titan king struggled. But even he could not break free from 3 beings of such colossal strength. The Titans gasped in shock. Their king had fallen. This moment, the fall of Cronus. decided the war. With Cronus bound, the Titans lost their unity. One by one, they collapsed. Iapetus fell to the combined strength of Hades and Poseidon. Crius was crushed under a barrage of boulders from the Centimanes. Hyperion's fire dimmed as Zeus's lightning overwhelmed him. Ceus and Phoebe surrendered. Oceanus withdrew, refusing to fight further. Thea and Tethys wept at the destruction of their age. The War of the Titans, the Titanomachy, finally came to an end. The world fell silent. Smoke curled from destroyed mountains. Rivers shifted courses. The sky cleared slowly. The age of Titans had died. And a new age waited at the horizon. Zeus stood before the defeated Titans with thunder in his voice. Your age is over. The world must be rebuilt. By his command, the Centimanes dragged the defeated Titans. Hyperion, Iapetus, Ceus, Crius, and others. Down into the deep abyss of Tartarus, beneath layers of chains and walls forged by the Cyclopes. Cronus, broken and silent, was cast into the darkest pit of all. A place reserved only for kings who fall. Guarded forever by the 100-handed ones. The Titans would never rise again. The war was over. But the story of Zeus was just beginning. The Titanomachy had ended, but the world was wounded. Mountains lay cracked and hollow. Rivers had shifted courses. Forests were burned. Storms lingered, unsure whether to calm or rage. For 10 long years, the war had torn the earth apart. And now the land lay in eerie silence. But from this silence arose something new. A sense that the world was no longer ruled by fear. No longer held in the grip of an old tyrant. Instead, a new age, bright, powerful, and full of possibility, waited to begin. And at the center of this new age stood Zeus. Zeus gathered his siblings on a high cliff overlooking the sea. The wind that touched their faces felt clean, like the first breath of a newborn world. We have ended the rule of Cronus, Zeus said. But victory is only the beginning. We must decide how to rebuild the world, and who shall lead the divine order. Hera stepped forward, her presence commanding. A king must rule, she said, but not as Cronus did. Not through fear, but through justice. Demeter nodded. Our powers must be given purpose. The world must have balance. Poseidon crossed his arms, ocean mist swirling behind him. And who, he asked, shall be king? We are all children of Cronus, all born of the same blood. All eyes turned to Zeus. Zeus did not speak immediately. Instead, he lifted his hand. A breeze stirred. Clouds gathered overhead, swirling around him like loyal guardians. A low rumble echoed in the sky, and lightning flickered across the horizon. The sky responded to him. Not with violence, but with reverence. Zeus lowered his hand, and the air calmed. The heavens accept me, Zeus said quietly. And so do the winds, the clouds, and the thunder. The sky is mine to rule. I was born for it. Poseidon frowned, but then nodded. Then the sea shall be mine. Hades stepped from the shadows. And I will take the underworld, the realm of spirits and the dead. Demeter smiled softly. I will watch over the harvest and the life of the earth. Hera bowed her head slightly. I will safeguard marriage, royalty, and the order of society. Hestia stepped forward last. And I will keep the hearth. That every home may burn with peace. The roles were chosen. The world had structure again. And Zeus had become the king. Zeus led his siblings up the highest peak in all of Greece. A mountain so tall its peak touched the white edge of clouds. This was Mount Olympus, destined to become the home of the gods. When they reached the summit, the sky opened, radiant and welcoming. Zeus struck the ground with his thunderbolt. A palace emerged from the very air. Crafted from bright stone, shimmering clouds, and pure divine energy. Columns rose like frozen lightning. Golden gates formed. Bright halls echoed with endless possibilities. Zeus stepped through the gates first. The throne at the center of the palace glowed gently, as if carved by destiny itself. He placed his hand upon it. From the heavens above, a beam of pure light descended, crowning him with the authority of the cosmos. Zeus had become the king of the gods. The gods gathered in the main hall, where the air shimmered with divine power. Zeus stood before them and spoke. The Titans ruled with fear. Cronus swallowed his own children. Uranus buried us in darkness. But our age will be different. I swear. I will rule with justice. With wisdom. And with the thunderbolt when necessary. Poseidon struck the floor with his trident. I swear loyalty to Olympus. Hades bowed his head. I swear to guard the balance of life and death. Hera placed her hand on Zeus's arm. I will guide the order of this world. Demeter raised a vine of wheat. I will nourish the earth. Hestia lifted a flame in her palms. And I will keep the sacred hearth burning. The oath echoed through Olympus. A new order had been created. Now that the war was over, the gods spread across the land to mend it. Demeter walked across the charred fields and, with a wave of her hand, flowers blossomed. Grain rose from black soil. Trees grew tall again. Life returned. Poseidon calmed the oceans. He pulled back the tides that had risen during battle. And shaped new coastlines with gentle waves. Hera visited villages and settlements. Strengthening families, protecting unions. And bringing stability to the people of the land. Hestia lit sacred fires in temples across Greece. Symbolizing the warmth of home and unity. Hades descended to the underworld. Organizing the spirits of the dead. And ensuring that death had a purpose, not fear. Zeus lifted storms from the land. Commanding the clouds to return to calm drift. He shaped the winds. Set the path of the sun across the sky. And defined the seasons with Demeter's guidance. The world grew peaceful. Green. Alive. The people felt hope again. The rule of the Olympians had truly begun. Zeus knew that a kingdom could not survive on strength alone. It needed rules. Sacred laws that governed gods and mortals alike. Thus, he created the three great principles. 1. Justice. No one, god or mortal, would act without accountability. 2. Balance. Every force, from storm to harvest to death, must be in harmony. 3. Oath. Promises made under the sky were sacred. And lightning itself would strike those who broke them. Zeus placed Themis, Titan goddess of divine law, at his side as advisor and judge. Her wisdom helped him shape the legal order of the gods. With each decree, Olympus became stronger, more organized, and more respected. When peace finally settled across the world, Zeus held a grand feast atop Mount Olympus. The gods gathered in the glowing halls. Ambrosia flowing. Music echoing. And laughter filling the air. The Cyclopes attended as honored guests. The Centaurs stood guard, no longer feared. Even the nymphs of Crete came to bless the new era. Zeus raised a cup of nectar. To a new age, he declared. The age of gods. The age of Olympus. Thunder echoed softly in the distance. Not in anger. but in approval. The feast lasted 9 days and 9 nights. And when it ended, the world had officially entered the era of divine rule. Zeus sat upon his throne. Wife beside him. Siblings ruling their domains. And the cosmos finally balanced. But peace in divine realms is fragile. Destiny is never quiet for long. And the world was vast, filled with beings yet unknown. Forces unchallenged. Prophecies unspoken. The age of Zeus had begun. But the trials that would define his legacy were still waiting beyond the horizon. The age of Olympus had begun. Zeus ruled the sky with wisdom and thunder. Order returned to the world. Mortals prospered under divine balance. But every age of peace carries within it the seeds of chaos. And for Zeus, the challenges ahead would be greater than the Titanomachy. For while Cronus had fallen, the world still held ancient beings, forgotten prophecies, and forces strong enough to shake Olympus. Gaia, Earth Mother, the creator of Titans, watched from her deep, silent realm. Her heart was torn. Cronus had been cruel, but he was her son. The Titans were punished harshly, many locked in Tartarus. Grief and anger stirred within her. From the blood of Uranus, spilled long ago during Cronus's rebellion, the giants had been born. Huge, fierce, powerful creatures with the strength of mountains. Gaia whispered to them, "Your brothers suffer in Tartarus. Rise. Rise against Olympus. Avenge your kin." The giants obeyed. They marched across the world. Their footsteps like earthquakes. Their roars shaking forests and seas. Their leader, Alcyoneus, was near immortal so long as he remained upon the land of his birth. Beside him stood Porphyrion, mightiest of the giants, filled with hatred for Zeus. The air darkened. Storms raged. Thunder clashed. The Gigantomachy, the war of the giants, had begun. Zeus stood atop Olympus, thunder in hand. The giants charged upward, hurling boulders, uprooting mountains, and attacking the divine palace. Their strength was overwhelming. Their rage unstoppable. Poseidon battled them from the sea, sending tidal waves against their ranks. Hades unleashed spirits from the underworld, haunting the giants' minds with visions of death. Hera struck with divine fury. Demeter created choking vines and roots to restrain them. Athena, already born from Zeus, stood at her father's side, fearless and brilliant. But the giants were immune to the gods alone. It was an old prophecy. No giant shall fall by a god's hand alone. The gods needed help. Zeus called upon a mortal hero, one whose destiny was entwined with the fate of Olympus. Heracles, son of Zeus, a warrior of unmatched strength and courage. With his bow, his club, and divine resilience, Heracles fought beside the gods. When Zeus blasted Porphyrion with lightning, Heracles struck him down with an arrow, fulfilling the prophecy. Athena threw a mountain at the giant Enceladus, pinning him beneath Sicily. Apollo shot the giant Ephialtes through both eyes. Poseidon crushed Polybotes by breaking a piece of the island Kos and hurling it upon him. One by one, the giants fell. The war ended. The earth quieted. But Zeus realized something terrifying. If Gaia herself opposes me, then greater enemies may still awaken. And he was right. Gaia was not done. Her grief for the Titans ran deeper than the seas. In her fury, she created a being so monstrous, so powerful, so terrifying, that the world itself trembled at his birth. His name was Typhon. He was no ordinary monster. Descriptions say he stood taller than mountains. His arms stretched across horizons. Instead of fingers, he had dragons' heads. His legs were coiled like giant serpents. His eyes burned like lava. His voice was a storm of screams. Typhon rose from beneath the earth, with a roar that echoed through every realm. Olympus, the underworld, and even Tartarus. The gods felt fear. For the first time, Typhon attacked Olympus with the fury of earthquakes. Zeus met him in the sky, thunderbolt blazing like a newborn sun. Their clash shook the cosmos. Mountains cracked. Seas boiled. Stars flickered. Typhon hurled flaming boulders into the sky. Zeus shattered them with lightning. Typhon blew hurricanes from his mouth. Zeus countered with storms of thunder. The sky and earth became their battlefield. But Typhon was stronger than anything Zeus had faced. Stronger than Cronus. Stronger than any Titan. At one terrible moment, Typhon overpowered Zeus, ripping the thunderbolt from his hands, and tearing the tendons from Zeus's arms. Zeus fell from the sky, powerless, broken. Typhon imprisoned him in a deep cave near Mount Etna, and hid the tendons away under the guard of a dragon. The gods panicked. Some fled to Egypt, taking animal forms out of fear. All hope seemed lost. But two gods refused to surrender. Hermes, the clever messenger god, and Pan, the wild god of nature, sneaked into the cave where Zeus was imprisoned. While Typhon slept, Hermes stole back Zeus's tendons and restored his strength. Zeus stood once more. Lightning returned to his hands. Power surged through his veins like a returning river. He rose from the cave, with fury equal to the storm itself. The sky darkened. Thunder roared across the world. Typhon awoke. And the final battle began. Zeus unleashed the most powerful storm the world had ever seen. Bolts of lightning rained from the sky. Hurricanes tore across the land. The earth trembled as the two titans of power clashed again. Zeus struck Typhon. Again. And again. And again. Finally, he lifted a thunderbolt, larger than any before, and hurled it with all his divine might. It struck Typhon in the chest, blasting him into the depths of the earth. Zeus bound him beneath Mount Etna, where his fiery breath still erupts as volcanic fire. The greatest monster of all time had been defeated. Olympus was safe. Yet not all threats came from violence. Some came from compassion, or defiance. Prometheus, a titan who had not fought in the war, loved humanity deeply. He saw that mortals suffered. Cold, weak, unskilled. So he stole fire from Olympus and gifted it to mankind. Zeus was furious. Mortals are not ready for this power, he said. They must learn humility. As punishment, Zeus chained Prometheus to a mountain, where an eagle would tear at his liver each day, only for it to grow back at night. It was a harsh lesson. Zeus was just, but he was also strict. But Zeus wanted mortals to learn deeper lessons. He ordered Hephaestus to sculpt the first woman. Flawless, beautiful, curious. Her name was Pandora. Zeus sent her to earth with a sealed jar. A jar she was forbidden to open. But Pandora's curiosity, a gift from the gods, drove her to lift the lid. outpoured every sorrow, death, hunger, sickness, grief, pain, jealousy. The world darkened. But at the bottom of the jar, one thing remained: hope. Zeus allowed it to stay. Mortals would suffer, but they would never be without the spark to continue. Underscore 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 underscore. White medium star Apollo and Artemis, the next generation. As Zeus stabilized the world, new gods were born. From his union with Leto came Apollo, god of music, prophecy, healing. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, the moon, and purity. Zeus loved his children, and they became some of the strongest deities in Olympus. The trials Zeus faced were many. Giants rising from the earth. Typhon, the greatest monster ever born. Prometheus's defiance. Pandora's unintended chaos. Prophecies whispering of future dangers. Gods testing their roles. Mortals learning their place. Yet through every challenge, Zeus proved himself worthy of the throne. Not perfect. Not always gentle. But strong. Wise. A ruler of balance. A king shaped by war, mercy, and thunder. His reign had truly begun. Though Zeus ruled the skies and commanded storms, one truth remained clear. A king's legacy is not just in battles won, but in the children who rise after him. Zeus's heart was vast. Passionate, restless, and endlessly curious. He loved deeply. Sometimes recklessly. And often in ways that forever reshaped the world. From these unions came gods, demigods, heroes, and beings of extraordinary power. Each weaving their own stories into the tapestry of mythology. Among all his children, none had a birth as strange and extraordinary as Athena. It began with Métis, the Titaness of wisdom, Zeus's trusted advisor. A prophecy warned. Métis will bear a child more powerful than the father. Just as Cronus feared his children, Zeus feared the prophecy. But Zeus was wiser than Cronus. Instead of destroying Métis, Zeus swallowed her, absorbing her knowledge, her wisdom, her power. Days passed. Then weeks. Then one morning, Zeus awoke with a splitting pain in his skull. Thunder cracked around him. Lightning flickered uncontrollably. The gods gathered in confusion. Hephaestus, the divine smith, approached Zeus with his hammer. "Hold still," he said. With a great swing, Hephaestus struck Zeus's head. The crack echoed across Olympus. And from the split in Zeus's forehead, Athena emerged, fully grown, wearing gleaming armor and holding a spear. Her eyes flashed with intelligence. Her voice rang with confidence. "I am Athena," she said. "Goddess of wisdom, strategy, and war." Zeus smiled. A proud, relieved smile. Athena became his most trusted child. One who always counseled him with clarity and loyalty. Zeus's love for Leto, the gentle Titaness, was tender but dangerous. For Hera's jealousy burned hotter than flame. Leto wandered the world, seeking a place to give birth, but rejected everywhere due to Hera's curse. Only the floating island of Delos offered her refuge. There she gave birth to Artemis, goddess of the moon, wilderness, and the hunt. She was born first. And the moment she opened her silver eyes, she helped her mother give birth to her twin, Apollo, god of the sun, music, healing, and prophecy. The twins grew radiant and powerful. Apollo's voice could charm stones. His arrows never missed. He became the god of truth and light. Artemis walked the forests in silence, her bow slung across her shoulder. Protector of wildlife and maidens, Zeus honored both children deeply, gifting them domains that balanced day and night. They became two of the most influential gods in Olympus. Zeus's union with Maia, a quiet and mysterious nymph, gave birth to Hermes. From his earliest moments, Hermes proved he was no ordinary child. On the day he was born, while Maia slept, Hermes slipped from his cradle, wandered out of the cave, found Apollo's cattle, and stole them, inventing the first sandals to hide his tracks. He also crafted the first lyre, from a tortoise shell and strings of gut. When Apollo confronted him, Hermes only smiled innocently. Zeus intervened, amused. "Hermes," he said, "you shall be the messenger of the gods. Swift, clever, and impossible to deceive." Hermes bowed gracefully. And from that day, he carried Zeus's commands across the heavens, the earth, and even the underworld. With Hera, Zeus bore Ares, a god of raw strength and violent passion. Ares was not strategic like Athena. He was the storm of battle, chaotic, fearless, and destructive. Zeus often disapproved of his son's recklessness. "Ares seeks war for war's sake," he would say. "Yet war must have purpose." Still, Zeus recognized Ares's role. He represented the untamed fury in all beings. And Ares, in turn, respected Zeus's throne, even when he disagreed with his father's judgments. Some tales say Zeus fathered Hephaestus. Others say Hera bore him alone out of spite. What mattered was the child's suffering. Hephaestus was born deformed, face uneven, legs weak. Hera, ashamed, cast him from Olympus. The fall should have killed him. It did not. Instead, beneath the sea, Hephaestus learned to forge metal, crafting wonders from fire and stone. Zeus, impressed by his talent, brought him back to Olympus. As the divine smith, he forged Zeus's thunderbolts, Athena's shield, Hermes's winged sandals, Apollo's golden bow, the armor of heroes. Though his life was painful, Hephaestus shaped Olympus in ways no other god could. Zeus did not only father gods. He fathered heroes, beings whose destinies shaped the mortal world. These unions were controversial, often the center of Hera's rage. Yet they produced legends that would last forever. Zeus visited Danae, a mortal princess imprisoned by her own father, as a shower of golden light. From this union came Perseus. Guided by Athena, Perseus slew Medusa, rescued Andromeda, and founded royal lines across Greece. Zeus watched proudly as Perseus grew into a hero of both gods and men. The most famous of Zeus's mortal children was Heracles, born of Alcmene, a mortal queen of immense virtue. Hera despised the child and drove him into madness, forcing him into 12 impossible labors, killing the Nemean lion, slaying the Hydra, capturing the golden hind, fetching Cerberus from the underworld, and many more. Heracles endured them all. Zeus loved him deeply, and eventually granted him immortality. Heracles became a god, and took his place among the stars. Zeus's blood also ran through Theseus, the hero who slew the Minotaur, and united the cities of Attica. He embodied justice, intelligence, and civilized order. The world of mortals revered him as a founder of cities and laws. Zeus's love for Semele, a mortal woman, nearly ended in tragedy. Hera tricked Semele into seeing Zeus in his full divine form. The sight of raw godhood incinerated her instantly. But Semele was pregnant. Zeus refused to let the child die. He sewed the unborn baby into his own thigh, until it was ready to be born. Thus came Dionysus, god of wine, ecstasy, theater, and transformation. Zeus adored him. Dionysus became one of the few gods who truly embraced both divine and mortal worlds. Each child of Zeus, god or mortal, influenced some corner of existence. Athena shaped wisdom and cities. Apollo shaped music, truth, and healing. Artemis shaped nature and purity. Ares shaped war and conflict. Hermes shaped language and commerce. Hercules shaped heroism. Dionysus shaped celebration and transformation. Perseus shaped kingdoms. Theseus shaped civilization. And through them all, Zeus's influence spread across mountains, seas, temples, cities, and stars. Though his desires caused turmoil, his love, wild and unpredictable, created ripples across time. New gods, new heroes, new cultures, new legends. Zeus's children became the backbone of Greek mythology itself. Their stories intertwined with his, shaping the ancient world in ways no other god could match. And through each of them, Zeus's legacy grew brighter, deeper, more complex. The reign of Zeus brought stability to the universe. Storms followed a predictable rhythm. The seasons cycled with Demeter's blessing, and mortals lived under a sky governed by justice. Olympus became a shining beacon, a palace of light, cloud, and divine harmony. Yet even in this golden age, Zeus never knew complete peace. For power always attracts challenge, and fate never sleeps. From gods, mortals, spirits, giants, and even his own family, Zeus faced trials that shaped him into not just a king, but an eternal force of order in the cosmos. Zeus established the Olympian Council, a gathering of gods who advised, argued, and shaped the world. Each god brought a unique perspective. Athena offered wisdom and strategy. Apollo offered truth and healing. Artemis offered justice for the wild. Demeter offered life and balance. Hermes offered clever solutions. Ares brought the perspective of conflict. Hephaestus crafted weapons and inventions. Aphrodite shaped love and attraction. Hera, as queen, ensured fairness and dignity. Zeus listened to them all, and then made his decision. Always with thunder's authority. It was not always easy. The gods argued fiercely. Some wanted harsher punishments for mortals. Others wanted freedom for heroes. But Zeus maintained equilibrium. He ruled not by fear, but by wisdom sharpened through war, betrayal, and experience. Even after defeating titans and monsters, Zeus lived under the shadow of two prophecies. The prophecy spoken by Uranus, that a child would rise greater than its father, haunted Zeus. It drove his caution with Métis, and shaped his judgment in many relationships. He was powerful, but not foolish. Zeus respected fate, and understood that even kings must bow to destiny. Another prophecy whispered that the age of gods would someday end, not through war among Olympians, but through the fading of belief. When mortals no longer offered prayers, or told stories of the gods. Zeus knew this would be an age beyond his control, a distant horizon where divinity itself would wane. But he did not fight this prophecy. Instead, he vowed, if the day comes when mortals forget us, let it be after ages of prosperity and stories worth telling. It was a king's acceptance, a recognition that even immortals are touched by time in their own way. Zeus's justice defined his rule. He punished without hesitation when arrogance eclipsed reason. But he also rewarded generosity, courage, hospitality, and loyalty. Three tales reveal the heart of his justice. Zeus and Hermes once visited a village disguised as travelers. The wealthy slammed doors. The proud refused hospitality. But one elderly couple, Philemon and Baucis, welcomed them warmly, sharing their only food and bed. Zeus rewarded them by transforming their hut into a grand temple, and granting them one wish: to stay together forever. When they died, they became two intertwined trees, side by side for eternity. Zeus smiled upon love and kindness. Ixion, a mortal king, grew proud and deceitful. Zeus offered him mercy, but Ixion plotted to seduce Hera and betray the gods. Zeus banished him to Tartarus, chained to a flaming wheel for eternity. Zeus punished treachery without mercy. Sisyphus cheated death and mocked the gods. Zeus ordered him to push a boulder up a hill forever, only for it to roll back down each time. Zeus taught that defying cosmic order had consequences. Zeus was not only a warrior. He was a mediator between gods and mortals, between storm and calm, between fate and free will. One of his greatest skills was guiding the passions of Olympians. Apollo wanted more influence over the arts. Artemis demanded more protection for women. Zeus gave each their domains, without diminishing the other. Apollo would rule music, poetry, healing. Artemis would rule wilderness, childbirth, and protection. Balance restored. Athena and Poseidon fought to become patron deity of a great city. Poseidon struck the ground, creating a saltwater spring. Athena planted the first olive tree, symbol of peace and prosperity. Zeus declared Athena the winner, not because he favored her, but because her gift would truly sustain the people. Wisdom over force. When Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite argued over who was the fairest, even Zeus refused to choose among them. He wisely appointed the mortal Paris to judge in his place. The choice eventually sparked the Trojan War. But Zeus knew some conflicts should not be decided by a king, especially when queens are involved. Though Zeus triumphed many times, 3 final trials marked his maturity as a ruler. When mortals grew corrupt and violent, Zeus sent a great flood to clear the world of wickedness. Only Deucalion and Pyrrha survived, rebuilding humanity with wisdom and humility. Zeus learned. Justice must be tempered with mercy. Zeus intervened in many tragedies. He saved Dionysus from Hera's wrath. He freed Prometheus after Heracles proved mankind worthy. He guided Perseus and Heracles on their heroic paths. He protected Ariadne, Orpheus, and countless mortals. His compassion deepened over time. After the Titanomachy, a monstrous jailer named Camp guarded Tartarus's prisoners. When Zeus needed the final victory to secure the underworld's borders, he faced Camp, a creature with the body of a dragon, the claws of a lion, the tail of a scorpion, and 100 serpents for hair. Zeus struck her down with a thunderbolt so bright that it carved a scar across the heavens. Olympus's rule was now fully secure. After countless trials, Zeus sat upon his throne, not just as a ruler by force, but as a king forged through conflict, loss, love, wisdom, and time. He became the symbol of order over chaos, justice over tyranny, balance over extremes, hope over despair. His thunderbolt represented not just destruction, but protection. His eagle symbolized vision and authority. His throne at Olympus became the center of the ancient world. Zeus was not a perfect god. He was flawed, emotional, fierce. But he was also wise, powerful, and deeply protective of the cosmic order. He learned. He grew. He adapted. And that is why he remained king of the gods. Long after Titans fell, monsters died, heroes rose and vanished, and centuries passed. Zeus's legacy endures not only in the myths, but in the lessons they carried. The world needs both strength and wisdom. Power must be balanced with justice. Leaders must face their fears. Even gods must respect destiny. Hope remains even when suffering escapes the jar. He shaped the cosmos, guided mortals, raised gods, and forged an age that lasted longer than memory. And in every thunderstorm, every flash of lightning, every echo of authority, the presence of Zeus still lingers. For the King of Olympus is not merely a figure of myth. He is a symbol of the eternal struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness, mortals and the divine. Zeus stands forever as the ruler of the heavens, the guardian of cosmic law, and the mightiest god of ancient lore.